Conference will now be recorded.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here. What we're going to do today is I'm going to have Thelma start off the meeting. Once she is done, we will have someone else speak, and then we will have the committees give updates on their committees. So as we go along, I'll introduce the people that are coming up. Thelma?
Good morning, everyone. I wanted to be here today and let you guys know that I have enjoyed the past 6 years of being the activities coordinator. I've loved my job, but it's time for me to go on down the road. So I'm here to introduce our new activities director. This is Amy Horton, and everybody give her a very warm welcome.
Thank you again, Amy Horton. I am extremely excited to be here. It's my 4th day and everybody's just been so welcoming and wonderful. I started working for Del Webb in 1997, so I've spent my entire career working in active adult communities, and I'm just very excited to be a part of what everybody is doing here. I think you're all wonderful, and come up and say hi to me when the meeting's over. Thank you.
Thank you, Amy. Welcome. We look forward to having you here with us. Next, I have a resident. Her name is Karen Stewart, and if you all received a copy of the handout she put together, she's been working with our accounting department to get some facts on the annuities. And she wants to give her.
So you'll have so basically you'll lose the money.
She wants to give her input on what she has found.
Good morning. Again, I'm Karen Stewart. My husband and I have owned here for 10 years, and last year I became aware of these annuities. And I was troubled because I was a certified financial planner, and I had an insurance disability and annuity license myself. I've also been treasurer of our HOA in California. Knowing full well that this particular investment was not appropriate, I was concerned. So anyway, I heard that there was a committee working to rectify the situation. And when we came back in January, I was happy to learn that one of the annuities was for 3 years and that it was going to be maturing in September of last year. And it was allowed to mature, and the interest was accrued, and it was paid to our association with interest. The amount invested was $1 million into 2 different annuities. Each was for $500,000. So the first one was paid off and returned to the community. By the way, if you look on this, you'll see the checks that were paid by the insurance company to the association. So the first checks came from the liquidation of the 5-year annuity. A 5-year annuity is like a CD. If you liquidate it early, there's a penalty. So that was assessed, and so I'm going to go through the figures in a minute. So first of all, the first check decision apparently was made, and by the way, I don't know any of those board members, and the only one I've met here is Jennifer, and I met her day before yesterday. So, and by the way, we're winter residents. So, anyway, we dropped back in January and learned that both annuities had been liquidated. One matured, and it was invested for $500,000, and we got a check for $561,007. So we got $61,000 of interest on that one in 3 years. That yield is about 3.9%. Now the other one was not going to mature until 2027, and the decision apparently was made by the board that since this was inappropriate, the best thing to do was to liquidate it early. And therefore there was a withdrawal penalty. So how much was received for that second one? It came in 2 checks. The first one came the 1st of July of last year, and the amount was $54,503 in interest. A week later, a check was received for the principal minus the late fee, and it was $473,646. Therefore, we have received on that one only 28,000. Hang on, second page here. I think 28,150 as I recall, 28,149, whatever. So we got some interest on that one, but since there was a penalty, we got about 1.984%. Interestingly, I have with me something that my husband pulled off of ChatGPT, and it says we asked what was interest rate available on 3- and 5-year jumbo CDs at that time. About 2%. So we got about almost 4 on the first 500. We got just under 2 on the second. So we got about 3% interest, which was a little bit better than an FDIC insured account. Now, my position is I assumed that this was done in the first place to try to get higher interest, because that's a lot of money to only get 2%. So I certainly don't feel like the board was attempting to collude or ask for kickbacks or to cheat. And I know that's going around, and I think it's very damaging. I don't know the particulars. I don't think we'll ever know. But I'm so grateful to these people for their volunteer work on our behalf. So anyway, my effort was to find out what happened, and and I have been given full access. I've talked to Deanna, who's our accountant here on site. I've talked to Dave. I think Dave is here today too. Yeah, Dave is in the back. He's the accountant from HomeCo, and he has been very helpful. No one has resisted me, and I've heard that some people say they could not get out any information. Well, I have no idea how they went to the board. They could have said, why did you guys do that? I mean, I have no idea what happened. But I also have had training in mediation, and people are people. And when these people come to voluntarily serve this community, you know, and you come in, if somebody did come in and say, why did you? Well, some of them weren't even here. So, and I don't know what happened. None of us will really know, but I absolutely was astounded to learn that police were here at Jennifer's house accusing this board of embezzlement. Embezzlement is when you take cash out of the till and you walk away with it. What happened here was checks were drawn from the LPL. LPL is Linsco Private Ledger. And by the way, I have a little error in this. They're the largest independent broker dealer. Obviously, Dean Witter and you know, the others are a lot bigger. They're independent, but they're very well known. We also have a CPA firm that has done an annual audit. And so, you know, I don't know what people are thinking happened. It was a mistake. It was truly a mistake. It was pretty foolish in my opinion, but I'm a financial planner. So, I mean, you know, I don't know what their backgrounds are. I believe they tried the best they could. It's been undone, and I'd like to suggest we drop it. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. Next, we're going to have the committees give updates on what's going on with the different committees. I'm going to first ask Angie to speak because she's on a schedule and she needs to get going. So,
Good morning, Angie Schmidt, Finance Committee. My background is 35 years in commercial lending, so that's kind of how I volunteered to get on the Finance Committee. And then somehow I ended up chair. So I'm not sure how that happened. I did, yes. So anyway, I guess today I want to give you a little bit of background about our Finance Committee and what we do. That was a great explanation regarding investments. We have 3 funds. I don't know if everybody understands it. We have 3 funds here, and I know we've talked about it before. We have an operating fund, we have a reserve fund, and we have an asset improvement fund. So our operating fund basically handles our annual operating expenses. Last year I looked up, and our income projected for our budget was 4.233 million. Projected expenses here were 4.232. Okay, so basically, we have a pretty big operating budget here, and so when we get into this time of year, we're starting our budget process. So we work with management, we work with committees, trying to find out, what the needs are for next year. The reserve fund is a fund that basically, as our community equipment fails, or as we need to replace things, basically we have a reserve list, and on that reserve list we have funding that covers some of the cost of those reserves. And I think, right now we're at 48 to 51% of coverage for our total number of items that are listed on a reserve study. And that will come out, I think, pretty soon. The board is looking at that, and that'll be approved shortly for the new reserve study for this year. So it may seem to some people like we're not covered enough, but we're probably in a, I would say, okay position. It says fair. We'd love to be higher than that, but it takes a lot of money and a lot of people putting more money into reserves to get in a better reserve position. Does that make sense? So then we have another fund, asset improvement, that was set up, I don't remember what year, Becca, 19, 20, something like that. And we have about 19, yeah. So right now in that fund, we have 1.486 million in the asset improvement fund. Might be a little bit off. I'm looking at a report that might have been adjusted a little bit. And back to reserves, we have 4.186 million in our reserve funding. So our asset improvement funding is a fund that can be used, if you go back and look, it has many purposes. Asset improvements, so it can be, let's do something new to spruce up the community. It can also be a backup to our reserve funding. So let's just say we have an item that is not fully funded in our reserve account. We can use some of that to fund that. And we can also use that as a backup for our operating account. So it's kind of a safety net. So those are the 3 funds that basically the board has to work with. And that's where we're at right now in those specific accounts. So I just want everybody to know a little bit about what kind of funds we have here. Basically, the Finance Committee is a recommendation committee, and we are also an assistance committee to the board. So that's what we do. We don't tell them how to spend money. We don't spend money. We have nothing to do with any of that. Basically, we are here to assist the board. One of the things that we did, some of the things we did this past year is we worked with Fred Treasurer to move the funds to FDIC investments. So there was some work to do to get them out of LPL, and we had not only did we have the annuities, but we had some corporate bonds, we had some money markets. So all that money, we helped Fred get that moved out of there. And he discusses interest rates with us, so we have an idea of what kind of income we're going to have coming in for this next year. We help the board. We help with tracking money that's for proposed projects that we have coming up. So we have our board, or our committee, created a spreadsheet that says these are proposed projects, this is how much money is in the account. And so when they go to approve projects, they at least have an idea of what the funding is now and what the proposed funding is through the end of the year. So we just try to assist them by giving them some information. So when they make a decision, hopefully they have some type of idea of what that looks like if they approve a project. We did develop a new finance committee charter this year and a new investment policy. Those were approved by the board. We're working with the board, and we made some recommendations on spending for reserves and on spending for asset improvement. That'll probably come up in the next board meeting. But we try to give them some recommendations so to keep us more solvent. I mean, basically, fiscal responsibility, right, is what we all want. So we have a great guy that tracks our utilities, Bob House. If y'all don't know him, he's just amazing. Tracks all of our utilities. He has made some significant changes that have saved us money. One is we were running everything through one water meter. He suggested let's run more through more water meters. So it may not make sense, but we don't have a lot of water meters here in the park. I think there's two primary ones. And so he made some suggestions and was able to save us some money on our water usage. So he also is very on top of what's going to happen this next year. APS is wanting, I believe, a 14% increase. And so as you look at what we're paying through we have the pass-through funds. So what we're looking at for pass-through funds covers our utilities, our electric, it covers our water, our sewer, and our garbage, okay? So as we look at those numbers this year, we have to realize, hey, that might go up 14%. Sewer, water, and electric? Not electric, okay. Oh yeah, you're right. Electric would be yours individually and the electric, and it's not a pass-through, but the electric that the association pays is through our operating account. So yes, sorry, thank you. So anyway, as we look at those numbers, we have to realize that the electric that we use internally as an association in our operating account is going to go up 14% potentially. They don't have that approved yet, but that's what they're looking at. And then 5% for sewer and water. And I think that's been established. So, you know, as we look at some of the expenses coming up, those are the things we have to think about, you know, where's our money going, right? Another thing that came out of the finance committee is we've made a recommendation, BGM is working on it, to have nesting units in all of the buildings owned by the association. So what that would do is we would set where the temperature of buildings can go, so we don't have people going in and adjusting it down to 67 degrees. So that can save a lot of money really over a period of time. So that would be centrally controlled. So I think they're working on that. I think is a great idea. I know I worked for a corporation before, and that's what they did. They gave us 2 degrees difference that we could adjust, right? I wanted 5 or 7, but they gave us 2. So that's all we got. So that is another thing that came out of our committee. I think it'll be really successful. We review our monthly financials, and I want to explain how the financials come out. So the financials are given to the finance committee and the board about the 15th, 16th of the month. We review them, any adjustments that we see or that are noticed, you know, prior to our meeting, basically at the beginning of the month. We meet the beginning of each month, first Monday of every month. And so what we do is any adjustments we see, we have discussion with our accountant, we have discussion with management, our bookkeeper, and you know, the board if we need to, and then those are approved at our meeting the first Monday of the month. So after those are approved, they go to the board for approval. Once the board approves them, I believe they're printed and put in the Nosy Coyote summaries, usually in the Nosy Coyote. What's that? Oh, and post on front steps. So anyway, so I know there's been some questions about financials, but the finance committee's job is to review those, help with any adjustments that need to be made, or recommend any adjustments, and then send it on to the board for approval. So that's how those work. The other thing we do is we go through the annual budget or the annual audit. So once the annual audit is complete, it comes to the finance committee. We look at it again. If we have any questions, we're able to contact our accountant. We're able to contact our audit firm and Homeco management, whoever needs to be contacted if we have questions on that. And again, that is submitted to the board for approval. So those are some of the things we do. It seems like our agendas are really long and we have really good discussions. So if anybody attends our meetings, hopefully, we're answering your questions. Right now, we're in the middle of preparing our budget. We're not real far into it, but if you want to come and listen to us work on our budget, you can do that. I think it'll be posted when we have more information. Is that when you usually post, or wait till it's done? Okay, so it'll get posted as we go along. That's what I thought. So I'm new to this. Sorry, this is my first full budget year. I mean, I'm used to doing budgets for a lot of other businesses, but not an our HOA. So anyway, we're working on that right now. It's a big process. As you can see, we have a big budget to work with. And we appreciate everybody, any comments, any recommendations, we appreciate that very much. I want to address that one thing is sometimes we forget that we have a chat room on our board, and I honestly can't see it from where I sit. So whoever is running the committee or our computer during our meetings, I'm going to ask them to really look at the chat boxes, because I apologize, I don't always see them. And so we try to address them. Last meeting, we probably didn't get anything addressed to because we had about 5 minutes before the next meeting started. So we try to get everything, addressed with that. If you have questions though, talk to Darlene. Darlene can send her email, and she, the finance committee or the board would be happy to go over any of that. So does that help everybody? That's what our finance committee does, and we really appreciate everybody here, and everybody's been cooperative, and we're just doing the best thing we can to make this fiscally responsible community.
Thank you, Angie. Next, I'd like to call it Doug Doty. He is with our Building, Grounds, and Maintenance.
Can you hear me? I couldn't. My name's Doug Doty, chairman for the BGM committee. We have a very good committee. We're very strong, and we're looking forward to working with 2026 and 2027 board that was just organized again. So we've got a lot of things we're talking about, a lot of accomplishments. I've been on BGM since, I believe, last May or June, something like that. And first meeting I got elected as the chair. Surprise. New kid on the block. So I'm still learning some of the processes too. But first off is we changed our meeting days from the second and fourth Tuesday to the first and third. Felt that this would help us get things across to the board in time for them to work on things or approve things that we present in front of them without having to wait a month, month and a half, whatever. So 1 week makes a little bit of a difference, and it'll help us. Um, Some of the things that we're working on right now, we've got severe drainage issues at the villas with flooding. And so we're in the process of getting in touch with a surveyor. We're taking bids, and the survey process has changed over the last 25 years, where instead of you go out and see the surveyors looking through a transit, now they're doing a lot of it with drones. And so we're trying to come up with a good way of getting this area surveyed so that we can make corrections with the drainage. So it's ongoing for a little bit. Hopefully we'll start getting some more results this summer. Street striping. Phase 1 is completed. That was out here on Happy Trails Boulevard. And now phase 2 will start up this summer, and that'll be on Roy Rogers with improvements there. And inside the resort, where we have a sweeping turn, and there's a white yellow line down the middle of it. So we'll begin, that's part of phase 2 also. Phase 3 will be coming probably next year. And that'll be inside the resort at a lot of our intersections. So we're working on that. We're using a product called Thermoplast. And it does last, it's guaranteed for 7 years. It's a thicker product to where we're not painting once or twice a year the same spots. And we're looking at a money saver. As you can tell out on Happy Trails, that some of it is discolored, but that comes from the asphalt that we put down and the seal coating, tire traffic, excuse me, and things like that. But it does wash off. Mother Nature helps us when we have rain and stuff like that. But it doesn't wear off. We've had some issues where a couple places have. They replaced it. Again, this is a product that's warranted for 7 years, but we're looking at 10 to 15 years for total life. In the R1, we're saving a lot of money down the road, literally. A big one coming up this next month will be the town center pool crack and leaking issue. And we're going to start that the first part of April after Easter. And we're not sure quite how long the pool will be down, drained, but we're hoping to resolve it. In the meantime, we'll have NC1 and NC2 pools available for use, and we'll go from there. But the bigger issue with that is, and we're going to be starting to check into that this summer, we may have to replace the pool. Normal pools last 30, 35 years. Ours is over 40. And a lot of it has to do with the substrate and the plumbing and what have you, and future cracks and water loss besides evaporation. So some of these pools, not only town center, but some of the other pools that we have may start to fail also. So we're checking into that and starting to investigate, see what some of our options are going to bring. They're going to be costly because it's going to be total renewal. So when this comes out in the future, just be prepared. Another issue that we've dealt with is the indoor spa. And that ties back in with our pools also. Our plumbing for the spa was inundated by tree roots. And that's why it's shut down. And it's a total failure as far as the plumbing goes. Tree roots just don't puncture a pipe, but they will attack a joint or a crack, and that's where they start to grow. And that's the problem that we have with this. So it's going to be in front of the board as to what our renovations are going to be. We're going to retain that area for a spa or change it to something else. So that's coming in later on this month. We listen and review club requests. We work in conjunction with the club finance committee. And we try to help them as much as we can. We've got a process that we're starting now where it's a long checklist and it's very thorough. And we need to get 3 bids, at least 3 bids for a lot of our projects. Getting some of those bids are very difficult. So it's tough to get pricing sometimes. We're running into that a lot. But we're working through it as best as we can. We're taking bids for the town center security here. The last town meeting, a lot of folks were emphatic about getting it more secured. And so we're working on that with locks, cameras, and what have you, so that we control security around here much better. We're not a gated community. We are a retirement community. Even though we've got gates, there's a lot of wide open areas in here. So we're going to try to control that a lot better. We're taking bids for the nesting, like was stated earlier, to help control our costs. This isn't a very expensive process, but there are going to be changes. So we at the BGM, we're very money conscious, and we're trying to get things resolved as economically as we can. We're not cheap, but we are frugal. We've got some summer discussions coming up as I close here now. One of them, like I stated before, will be the replacement for pools when needed and how we're going to handle that. Another one is we've got a maintenance building out here that is worn out. If any of you have ever gone, just driven by and looked at it, it's tough to look at. If we ever have an incident there, and OSHA would get involved with that, if there was an incident of injuries, fatalities, what have you, it could shut that whole process down with the inspections. So it won't be this summer, but maybe anticipating a year from this summer of replacing that area. It's going to be more beneficial for us. It's going to be more beneficial for our employees, because we've got some employees that are looking at sitting out in these chairs and retiring. And for us to replace people of their caliber or better, when we interview people and things like that for employment, they're going to ask the question, where am I working out of? And if we take them over to this facility, they're going to look at it and say, is this the way I'm going to be treated too? So we want to improve it as best as we can. So we're going to start discussing that. And then finally, been requested again that we check into painting our buildings here that we own. And we've done some investigation in the past. We're going to dive into it deeper this summer and see what we can come up with, if anything at all. So we are busy. We've got a very good, strong committee, and we're very pleased to be working with all of you and representing what you need to have done. Thank you.
Thank you, Doug. Next, I'd like to call on Bill Spursky. He's with our Communications Committee.
Yes, I'm Bill Silversky, Block 2250, and I chair the Communications Committee. basically what we are doing is trying to improve the quality and accuracy of information, including the tools that we use to communicate. Is that any better? Thank you. And one example, for example, is the weekly newsletter that goes out every Friday electronically. But how about the people that don't use electronics? How do they get the news? So what we do is go to 7 bulletin boards all around the preserve, all around resort, and see that they're posted in a readable way. And that's one way of getting more news out to folks. In that weekly newsletter, if you read down far enough, if you stay with it long enough and read far enough into it, you'll see something called a communications corner. Everybody understand my accent? Corner? You know what a corner is, don't you? It's where you park your car, you know. What we try to do is in that communications corner is try to put something that is useful for people to see and know. For example, a couple of weeks ago, we put in the age verification. You've all been subjected to age verification. You've had to submit forms and IDs and so on. So we try to put a little highlight in there to explain why this is so necessary. Another thing we put in was one of our committee members offered to meet one-on-one with anyone that's having trouble with Facebooks. Thank you. Footsteps. And sadly, only one response. That's hard to believe. Only one response. And this week, tomorrow, is in the communications corner, we're doing trash talk about our sanitation area. Something we're looking at is how to welcome new owners to Happy Trails. And we have the welcome package that gets out to everybody. It has the phone book, map of the resort, and a memory stick with all of the forms that you might be interested in. What I'm thinking of, what we're thinking of is, how about a sponsor program where a new owner has a sponsor assigned to them, where they can call that sponsor anytime and say, I don't know where to go for this or who to call for that. And the sponsor, of course, will be somebody that lives here and can answer that question very quickly and save the new owner a lot of trouble. So we're looking at that as an approach. What it would require is volunteers, us, volunteering to be that sponsor for the homeowner and being informed enough to help them out. So that's something we're looking at. I think the main thing I'm looking at right now is something called community questions and clarifications. I think we've all played this game where you sit in a circle with your friends and you tell the person to your left a story and they pass it on to their left and so on. And what does it look like when it comes back to you? Not anything like what it started out as. I think we have a lot of that going on here, not just here, but everywhere. It just happens. So what we're trying to do is get a process going where residents can ask about HOA policies, decisions, and operations and get a factual answer, which will be shared not only with the person that initiated the question, but the answer will be shared with everybody in the community. And the answers to the person would go out right away, but the answers to the community would be, say, possibly go out once a week. And I think we all had that a few years ago. It was called In the Loop, and it went out every Wednesday. And as I understand it, people looked forward to Wednesdays to see what the latest information was coming out. So maybe we're aiming a little bit towards that. Now, if anybody in the community has an interest in any of these things that I've just discussed, I'll be around after this meeting, and get in touch with me and let me get your name and telephone number, and we can talk some more about it. But one of the things I'd like to do is, if we get to the point where we introduce these things, I don't want it to be a surprise to the community. I'd like the community to be aware of these things so that they say, oh yeah, I remember that. I disagree with that, but that thing is okay, that kind of thing. Get the dialogue going. That's about all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Next, I'd like to call on Vicki Ray, and she's our Landscape Committee Chair.
Hi, I'm Vicki Ray. I'm the landscape chairperson. And good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for coming. Before I begin, I'd like to recognize the members of the Landscape Committee that are here. If you could please stand so we could recognize you. Michelle and Marie, I think you're about the only ones here. I know the rest of them are, some people are working or jeeping or something, but Marie Besham and Michelle Kavanaugh, thank you. The work of the committee involves much more than what residents see when a project is completed. Our volunteers spend many hours meeting with contractors, gathering and comparing bids, scheduling site visits, preparing proposals for the board, and attending committee and board meetings to move the projects forward. It takes a great deal of time and coordination, and we truly appreciate the committee commitment of each member that each member brings. I would also like to give a special thanks to Carrie Smith for the beautiful wagon decorations and for lighting the olive trees and also the lighting in front of the palm trees. She really went out of her way. Unfortunately, she couldn't be here because she still has a job. But we appreciate the time that she does give us outside of her job. She really does a great job. She procured all those lights on her own. She ran around to different sales all over the city getting those. So we thank her immensely for all she does. Also helping her was Martin Gilbert. He did a great job of helping do the lighting as well as dig some holes for our split rail fence. Over the past months, the Landscape Committee has worked on a number of improvements and projects for the resort. Some of the accomplishments include the split rail fence, which we think turned out beautiful and adds a real Western theme to the resort following the Happy Trails. We also updated and refreshed the Happy Trails Monument in front of the guard gate. I don't know if anybody knows that. We painted it black. We put in some plants that hopefully they'll grow a little bit over time. Also, the installation of the lighting on the palm trees and the olive trees. And now I'd like to briefly talk about some upcoming projects we hope to get implemented. These are items the committee has been researching, gathering bids for, and preparing proposals on. Development of plans for the shade sail at the NC1 pool area to provide much needed shade and comfort. I don't know if many of you have been to the NC1 pool, but there's absolutely no shade there at all. So we, since we can't do anything at the town center pool till after we figure out what direction that's going, we focused on the NC1 pool for their shade. So we came up with some shade sail options that met the criteria of the winter people and the summer people. So I have those to present to the board. Pruning of the olive trees throughout the resort and applying a spray to prevent fruiting helping reduce mist on sidewalks and common areas. So the olive trees are going to stay. I know there was much discussion on whether they were going to be replaced, but they're long-lived trees. All they need to do is be pruned properly so they grow more up instead of out. So that's up with the olive trees. We'd also like to secure some funds for additional Western decor to contribute to the enhancing the resort's Western theme. I don't know if you noticed, but we would like to purchase more wagon wheels to put out there, and they're really not cheap, where we can afford to buy them for the committee members can't afford to buy them on their own. We'd like a little help from the resort. We also are repairing the cracked coping around the town center fountain to maintain safety and appearance. I don't know if you noticed, but there's large cracks around the, just a minute, I'm getting dry. There's large cracks around the coping. So we're going to have that replaced with some tiles that go on the top, which will match the rest of the fountain and make it look finished and much nicer. Also, we've got a lot of planters around the area that are in need of refreshing. So we would like to paint them a dark color, either dark brown or black, and put in like a drought tolerant plants and make them look more attractive. And that's about all I have. The committee will continue looking for ways to improve the landscape and appearance of our community while remaining mindful of budgets and long-term maintenance. On behalf of the Landscape Committee, thank you for your support and for taking pride in our beautiful resort.
Thank you. Thank you, Vicki. I'd now like to call on Barbara Fugelberg. She is our Safety Committee Chair.
Thank you. Full disclosure, I'm wearing a mask because I did test positive for RSV this morning. So if any of you have a cough and feel really just great, you might have RSV. So I'll try to keep this short so I don't start coughing on you. So the Safety Committee we really have the benefit of having a really good group of people who are on the committee. We have Doug Doty, who's on the committee, who's also the chair of the BG&M committee. So he brings a wonderful building grounds and maintenance perspective. And if we have items that sort of cross over between the two committees that might be a safety issue that we want BG&M to address, we discuss it back and forth. We also have people on the committee who have fire safety background, which really helps us in being able to determine a lot of the issues that we have to deal with. And then we also have people with law enforcement background on our committee. And then there's me. I'm just a nurse, as I've been told. Anyway, so a couple of things that I want to tell you that there's motions that we have going forward to the board. Last year, we had an ad hoc committee that looked at speeding and stop signs and that kind of stuff. And we're going to continue to be making motions relative to that. A couple of the minor things to be going forward is improving some stop signs going on to Happy Trails Boulevard. As a last reminder to people to please stop. We know that people think them as just a thought. Maybe I might want to stop, but we do need to make sure that people can see the stop sign. The second thing that we're going to assure is that the going into the communities, it changes to 15 miles per hour. Last year, through the ad hoc committee, we had the City of Surprise come out, and in addition, because of our two members on the committee who have law enforcement background, they reiterated to us that our 15-mile-an-hour stop signs were too close, that as you're making a turn into it, you're not looking at the the speed limit sign. You're looking at completing that turn, and they're recommending that those speed limit signs be further in. That'll be a minor thing to go forward. The major cost thing that the committee is sending to the board in their packet for their next board meeting is to purchase 2 radar speed signs to a cost to not exceed $8,000. For those of you who have read the long-range planning survey that was done a few years back, the number one issue addressed on that on page 6, if you'd like to look, is that they want the community to be enforcing the speed limits. And so the ad hoc committee really looked at the pros and cons on what can we do to really enforce the speed limit. And one of the next steps that we can do is by having the radar speed signs, which will say, this is your speed, slow down. Not won't say slow down stupid, but it will say slow down or something else. Anyway, we looked at a number of different items. You can buy, this is your speed sign off of Amazon, and that'll cost you around $1,000 or less, including shipping and handling, but it does not have any warranty, it doesn't have any customer service, and it is very easy to break with a baseball bat. We also looked at the ability to maybe just rent us, this is your speed sign, and yes, you can do that. The cost of that for 2 speed signs for 4 months is $6,400, and you're over and done with. So these speed signs at 2 of them for including shipping and handling would be less than $8,000. They are solar operated, and they will collect data. So we will know not who, but how many cars exceeded the speed limit during any hour of the day. So we'll be collecting data, so we'll be able to know where the top areas are. So maybe at some point in time, we might have more enforcement out there. Those of the people on the ad hoc committee really felt that a paint gun might be the most appropriate one. But we know we probably can't do that legally. So anyway, so we're asking for that. With that $8,000, we get the data collection, we get customer service, we get a 2-year warranty, we get customer service. It's excellent. And these things are meant to not be banged by baseball bats and that kind of stuff. So they should be long-standing. We looked at other communities such as ours who have radar signs, and they're all of them say that there's been at least an 80% reduction in speeds, and that they're all about 75 to 80% satisfied with what they're getting in this particular vendor. There are some people may say, and some people even on our committee, who say this is a complete waste of money. But most of us felt that this is at least an opportunity to get people to slow down. We're asking for 2. Other communities our size, half our size, have 4. So we may need more in the future, but getting 2 in now will give us an opportunity to determine whether they're being effective and if we need any more. This will involve some additional time by our maintenance and management staff, as when we decide we will be moving them from site to site. Now, full disclosure, I really wasn't going to say this, but we will be moving them, and they may not say this is your speed. Well, it's still in what they call stealth mode, but it's still collecting data on you, so you still need to behave yourself. So what we're hoping is that this will really cut down the number of speeders and make a difference in our community. One of the things that the committee has looked at is that we know that our sign, we've got posted 20 miles per hour and 15 miles per hour, but we also know that a lot of people's GPSs and Waze and that kind of stuff say that our speed limits are faster than that. Actually says that Waze says that Happy Trails and Roy Rogers are 25 miles an hour, and Dale Evans is 25 miles an hour, and Trigger is 25 miles an hour. The committee and management has really been working to work with those vendors to see if possibly we can get that changed. Still, that's a work in progress. But we also know that it might just be a temporary change, and once they have a software update, it goes back to whatever they had said before. So we're not hopeful that that's a viable solution. I'm just looking to see if there's anything else I wanted to say on that. Oh, one of the things that, in order to be able to generate a fine for someone, we need to collect their license plate data. And since we're a private community, the only license plate data that we can refer back to are those license plates that are in our system. So those, all of us here, people that play by the rules. It's not going to get the UPS truck driver or all of the other drivers that are coming through here, and people that maybe shouldn't be here. So that limits us, and also majority of our golf carts don't have license plates on them. So those are reasons why at this point in time we're not advocating for that. Secondly, if we went to a place where we really had a more fancy license plate reader, it does need to be integrated into our system. But if you read the paper, there's been an awful lot of flack currently, that's interesting, regarding a company called Flock. And there are systems out there where you can register, say, your door ring bell to collect data of traffic going by, and then the police department then will access that data from Flock and get more information from it. But what they've been finding that the company Flock, they may say how much the police department can get, but they're not telling you how much they're selling to other people off the side. So it could be a distraught lover that maybe someone's not maintaining their marital vows, has got their lawyer collecting information, and it collects lots of different pictures and all. So most cities are now going away from that. So the safety committee will keep this license plate reader on its agenda, if you will, on the back burner, and continue to monitor the issues and the state regulations that might be going against it. Okay. And then a controversial thing that really, I'd like your feedback on both the radar speed signs, but also this next item. How many here live in either Section 1 or Section 3? Raise a hand. There's a cart path between Section 1 and Section 3. And that cart path continues to be a problem. It does have signs saying that there's no motorized vehicles, and it does have a sign saying the pedestrians have the right of way. But all of you follow the rules, but I think you have some neighbors that don't follow the rules. And there's been continued to be damage through there. Historically, we've had 2 cars that have gone through. Recently, we had a motorcycle and a side-by-side go through. We had a golf cart go through where maybe there might have been some adult beverage involved, and the person damaged some of the lights by the property owners next to it and actually lost his or her bumper that goes along with it. So the safety committee is recommending to the board that that cart path be blocked off to just pedestrians, and that it would involve a post going in the middle, so those of us in our golf cart could not get through it, but that the 4 lot owners next adjacent to it would be able to get their carts in the back of that. I know it's convenient. I live in Section 1. I'm married to someone said, God, Barbara, hope you vote against that. And I told him I already did vote for it. So there would not be, he'd not be happy. But I'd like your feedback of how you think the board should react to that. How many think that it's a good idea? How many think it's a bad idea? Okay. The bad idea won out over the good idea. So what we'd like is the reason why, and really what we can do to help mitigate, to get people to realize that it's not for motorized vehicles, and that if you're walking through it, the person who's walking has the right of way over the golf cart. Because of those of you who used it, you know that there is not a good line of sight through it. In order to get from Section 3 to Section 1, you have to actually get in the opposite lane of travel and look through. And even at that, you still might make your way through and realize that it's not quite good. So, okay, that's for the board to consider at their next meeting. Okay, a couple of things. Those are the major motions that are going to the board. Some of the things that the safety committee looks at is that we do monitor a thing that's called the community crime map, and that is done by it's through a company called LexisNexis. Our local police department submit data of every time they've come into Happy Trails for an incident, and they log it, whether it's domestic assault or verbal assault or whether it was theft or whatever. And that really, we rely on all of us to, if there's an issue like that, to report it to the police so we can get an idea of the frequency that things occur. The committee then is also working with Brad to really get an idea of how many other incidents occur within the community so that we can get sort of those non-reportable items. And so we do look at things like falls. We've had a couple of falls lately that the committee will be looking at to see if there's some opportunities for improvement, as we used to say in the healthcare field. And so we really need people to be giving feedback on someone fell here and this is what happened. and so that we know where there might be a particular area of concern. A big thing that we're just starting work on is looking at updating the emergency preparedness plan. Currently within our community, the emergency preparedness plan just involves a list of phone numbers for you to call. And what we're hoping to do is not get at something that's terribly, terribly complicated, but a list of common sense things that need to occur to help in event of an emergency. And the emergencies that we're looking at right now are particularly fire safety, and then we're looking at active shooter, and then also the issue of CPR and that kind of stuff, what to do in the event of. We know we've got a lot of processes in place, but we don't have any centralized thing that then could go out to the community. So we'll be working on that. So that's the other thing that we do is all of us committee members do attend these town meetings. So as we hear issues that you bring up at the town meeting that relates to our committee, we do take it back to the various committee. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Barbara. Thank you, Barbara. First of all, I want to apologize to all of you because our town hall meetings have kind of gone to the wayside as how they should be ran. So next month, it's going to be your meeting. I want you to come with any concerns, questions, comments, whatever you want to throw at us. Next month is your meeting. We're not going to have a panel other than to answer your questions. Again, I do apologize. The last few town hall meetings, we have kind of taken up all the time and you haven't had a lot of time for questions and stuff. So next month, bring it on. We'll be here. Okay. Unfortunately, we're out of time. We have another meeting to attend. So again, next month will be your town hall meeting. So come prepared to answer any questions, concerns, or anything you have. Thank you.